Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 63 of the All Dolphins podcast. And this one is for one of my favorite Dolphins, maybe ever. Offensive lineman, late 90s, early 2000s, Mark Dixon. And a couple of quick nuggets about Mark Dixon. He was a guy from Virginia, undrafted, went to the Canadian Football League. I believe he played for Montreal. Jimmy Johnson signed him, and very early on, Jimmy Johnson took a major liking to him, and that dude became a player. Not only that, from a media perspective, if he's not the all-time best quote in the Dolphin locker room, he is up there. And here's a fun story. He was so good because he never gave you like the football cliche answer. He was so good that every time anybody did a story about something related to the entire team, to get a good quote, everybody would go to Mark Dixon, to the point where one of the local newspaper editors told his writers, start quoting somebody else, stop using Mark Dixon for every other quote. And last little nugget about Mark Dixon. I am not sure if I heard in all my years of covering the Dolphins, and we're going on 35 years, a player so complimented for, guess what? His basketball skills.
What?
Everybody you talk to, like players back then, like who's a really good basketball player, and you would get Mark Dixon unanimously. And he was a 6'3", 295-pound guy, but apparently the dude could ball.
Was that back in the days when the reporters would actually go play basketball at lunch? Do you remember those days?
Yes, I do.
I
partook in some of those games.
Yeah, I remember I was an intern and I took in some of those games, but you know that everybody was too old to be playing basketball. Sorry, I think there's a certain age restriction that you should stop playing basketball. And I believe Alex Marvez tore his ACL or
I don't know that one.
Yeah, Marvez, Michael Cunningham. I think Ethan Skolnick, a lot of guys tore their ACL or Achilles in the same stretch when I was probably in my late 20s, and it convinced me, don't step on a basketball court anymore.
Quick, and while we're on that, quick media shout out for two guys who stood out to me for their hooping skills. Craig Dolch, longtime writer for the Palm Beach Post, that dude could play, and Jason Cole also is a good baller.
Jason Cole, that was my first mentor ever. Jason basically told me when I was an intern with the Sun Sentinel, you can come out here any day you want and I'll find work for you. And I took that literally, and I came out every single day and I found work, and look at where I am right now.
Where are you right now?
Well, working for alldolphins.com.
Excellent, great answer.
Yeah, well, where you can find the work for free, unlike other outlets. Not disrespecting any other outlet, and certainly there's some good writers there, but we've got collectively 50 years of experience. 15 on my end, and you could do the math for Poupart.
I already said 35, and with the beard, I can't even hide it if I tried.
Yeah, you don't look a day over 50. Don't worry about it.
Oh, thanks, Omar. Okay, on that note, let's segue and move into the main topics for today. Yesterday, we started comparing the 2023 roster heading into the regular season to where we were last year at this time, as well as in the playoffs. And then,
so make sure you go look at episode 63 if you just 62. Popped up.
62. This is 63.
I'm sorry, 62. If you just popped up and you said, hey, let me check out their podcast, and you're like, why aren't they breaking down the offense? Well, we broke down the offense in episode 62. This is episode 63. And what we're doing is we're taking an analytical look at the team when they began the season at this point last year. Then when they got to the playoffs, because it was a different roster at that point, especially for a lot of the units because of injuries, which I continue to tell you is part of the NFL. And then compared it to the 2023 opening squad unit. Let's start with the defensive line. Pretty much this is the consistent defensive line that they've had for the last 2 years, with minor alterations. If you go to the 2022 unit that started the season, you had Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, and John Jenkins. who made the Los Angeles Raiders 53-man roster. I thought we might get a chance to bring him back, but obviously it didn't happen. And then also, if you want to throw a caveat in there, which I don't think I want to, Emmanuel Ogbah was a defensive lineman last year. He's not going to be using that role. He's now in the outside linebacker group. So yes, you have something to add?
Yes, I do. But technically he's listed as a defensive end on the roster, even though we kind of know he's playing as an outside linebacker, edge defender type of guy.
I'm hopeful that one day he'll put his hand in the ground and actually rework as a defensive end, at least on passing downs. If you put him inside on third downs, it makes you a better pass rushing team than Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Hey, nobody asked for that.
No, I expect that. I don't think I would expect to see Ogbah on the field on third downs along with Chubb and Phillips. Absolutely. Instead of, and Omar's screen is freezing again. We need to start a GoFundMe. We need to start a GoFundMe to get you better internet, man. It invariably, and then you're freezing again. There we go.
Yeah, no, you know what? We've done 50 something episodes and it wasn't a problem. And then all of a sudden I feel like Adelphia is trying to get me to upgrade and they just tried to junk it up. I'm going to call them when we're done because either it's going to improve or
you're going to do something.
Get to the additions 2023. You've got Brandon Peely. Then you got Deshaun Hand, who is on the practice squad, but I think he might have made the 53 if he wasn't injured, but he safely made it on the practice squad. No harm, no foul. You got 3 games to work with him and see what he brings to the table. Where are you from a comfort standpoint with this defensive line?
I don't like the depth, and this is nothing against Brandon Peely, who's a promising looking young player. Again, big guy with some mobility, who are hard to find.
Yes.
But are we ready to
cut them? You don't cut them when you find them.
Correct.
Which is why Brandon Peely is here.
Agreed. But how much you trust him if he has to go into...
Absolutely do not trust him.
Well, correct. And that's the problem. Although, again, as you mentioned, Deshaun Hand, who from the folks in Detroit who covered the team I spoke to, always like his potential. The problem with Deshaun Hand, he's very often injured. And lo and behold, he's kind of injured now. Yeah. So... and John Jenkins is not a flashy player, but there was a reason the Dolphins re-signed him 3 different times over the past.
Yeah, but you know what? They don't have a need for a nose tackle. And I'm even looking at what they're doing schematically. So we're talking 700 plays where they have 2 defensive linemen down.
Is that even a word? I'm sorry.
Is schematically not a word?
Omar, this is flashback to episode 61, where I relayed the story involving the word schematic with former Dolphin player Tim Reddy. And a reporter. So I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, I knew there was something there where I was like, did Poop already tell me that schematically isn't a word? I don't think they need a nose tackle. This is not a 3-4 defense. It's not a 3-down linebacker defense where it just doesn't look like a 3-4 defense. Do you disagree?
Yes. It's in to a certain degree, because my thing with this defense is it's going to show, as every team does every year, more often than not, they're going to line up, and maybe it could be just 2 interior defensive linemen, Sealer and Wilkins, Chubb and Phillips outside, and then you can have 4 linebackers or 3 linebackers, 4 DBs, or 2 and 5. However, what happens when you play against a team like New England, for example, in week 2, which very well may try to pound the ball inside?
Okay.
This is where you need more bulk along the defensive line. And in a game like that, that's where I would expect Raekwon Davis to get.
You go to a 3-4.
Correct. To get way more significant playing time. And that's where if something happens to Davis, Patriots aren't going to stop running the ball because Raekwon Davis is not in the game. So that's where you'd like to have somebody with more experience who maybe more trustworthy at this time than Brandon Peely, with all due respect. And then if you look, if you look beyond that, Denver with Sean Payton, probably more of a passing team than a running team, even though they'll have some balance with Javonte Williams. Buffalo's going to throw it, so no, not a whole lot of Raekwon Davis, and then you can go on the line, but there will be times when the Dolphins do need to be stout up front with 3 big bodies, not just 2.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. And I'm curious to see what the defense looks like when it's real actions, real, as they call them, bullets. I don't know how people feel about the war analogies.
Don't like it personally, but that's just me.
All right, then. Bad Omar. What here's my thought process on this defense when I look at it schematically. It looks like a 4-2 defense in a nickel package.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, so and it looks like a 4-2 defense in a nickel package. And if you want to pretend like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are 4-3 edge rushers, they are 4-3 edge rushers. The problem is they stand up and they could easily drop back. So there's so much flexibility into this defense and this defensive front. And then you've got 3 solid interior guys. You got kind of 3 edge guys in terms of Agba. And then you also have Agba who could go inside. And then you got Van Ginkel who could go linebacker, and then go inside to inside line. So there's a lot of Swiss Army knife versatility pieces that you could utilize. And let's get into that linebacker unit. Let's look at the outside linebackers who began the season with last year: Jalen Phillips, Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, Melvin Ingram, Channing Tindall, Andrew Van Ginkel, Duke Riley, Sam Egwavon, and then Trey Flowers for that hot minute. Now, not a lot of those players finished.
Dude got hurt, man. Harsh.
I mean, he got hurt.
I know. It was a
nice fat check too.
Yep, foot or ankle injury. Yeah, this was the entire linebacking core. Go ahead, and then this year it's pretty much the same guy. No, it's not the same guys actually. Bradley
Phillips, Chubb, Baker, David Long, who replaces a Landon Roberts. Then you got Channing Tindall. Both of us would put him on ice again. Andrew Van Ginkel and Duke Riley. There are some backups on the practice squad in terms of the signing of, the name escapes me as a president, Wisconsin. Chase Winovich, yes. And then Anthony Johnson, which I don't know much about because
Alexander Johnson.
I honestly don't know much about him because he wasn't here. However, he's played for Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio knows him, likes him, is comfortable with him. He's on the practice squad. They need interior help, in my opinion. David Long's consistency was not there. Vic Fangio kept bringing it up over and over and over again. Not a single word about Jerome Baker, but David Long, the consistency wasn't there. Hopefully he'll stay healthy and he'll bring that consistency. When you watch this defense from the interior, I've always felt like they underutilized Jerome Baker. I mean, you're talking about a guy with 21 sacks during what?
I mean, they didn't when Brian Flores was the head coach.
I mean, I'm not talking about the year that he moved outside to kind of patch up the defense. No. Jerome Baker is a very good blitzer. 21 sacks.
Yeah, he's a good blitzer.
Tell me, how often do you think he blitzes during the game?
You mean coming up this year or the last year or the years
last year, the years past? He rarely ever blitzes when he wasn't from the inside linebacker spot. He's got great timing. He's always had that since he's a freshman. I know how this Dolphin fan base acts. And they always create these narratives about players and, oh, this guy's overpaid. He sucks. He's this, that. He's, overrated. Oh my God. When is the last time he's made a play? Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's being a fan though.
Okay, I'm a Heat fan. I don't do that.
You're correct. I mean, we're journos. We're not. No.
I'm just saying I'm a Heat fan, and
I don't do that. Heat fan. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I will say this about Jerome Baker. Has he been the coverage guy that I wanted and expected him to be within the latter years, the last probably 3 years? No. He used to be very good at coverage. Then he became kind of average. Then he was moved outside to outside linebacker and started to help them when they resurrected themselves from that 1-7 start and played pretty decently. But is he the inside linebacker, the thumper that you want from that position? No. Is he the guy who hunts down a play and makes a tackle from the backfield? No. But Jerome has above average skills in every facet of the game. He's durable. And the man has averaged 102 tackles in his 7 seasons. What is it? 7 seasons?
18.
Six seasons. 6 previous 5 seasons. Like, can we finally put some respect on his name?
He's a solid player. I don't think anybody argues that point.
Dolphin fans argue it all the time.
Well, it's anybody who says he sucks, I think is off.
We had Donnell Ellerbe, we had Philip Wheeler. I'm not even going to take shots at anybody else because that's that's the last crop that was kind of mediocre. Jelani Jenkins, remember him?
I do. University of Florida.
Yeah. We've had some subpar inside linebackers. He's not a subpar inside. He's not a subpar linebacker. Jerome Baker is probably the best inside linebacker that this franchise has had since Carlos Dansby. And I'm putting my name on it.
I probably wouldn't disagree. I'm not, with all due respect, not sure how high of a bar that is, but yeah. And you mentioned David Long's.
Why is it not a high bar? Because we've had such mediocre bachelor linebackers?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And before that, you look at those who have been Dolphin fans for a long time will remember Zach Thomas, John Offerdahl before.
Oh, yeah, that's Hall of Famers. We need to put them over there.
While Zach Thomas is a Hall of Famer, John Offerdahl was just a very, very good player. Carlos Dansby was a very good player as well.
Kevin Burnett was a very good player too. Mr. Kevin Burnett.
Yeah, Mr. Kevin Burnett. Do you want to go there?
No. I mean,
story time.
I think the new school Dolphin fans don't know that he wanted to fight me. The old school Dolphin fans know that he wanted to fight me. But we were cool as long as I put respect on his name. So I continuously referred to him as Mr. Kevin Burnett. So yeah.
Can we say that Kevin was, how shall we put it, intense during his media sessions? Is that a good way of putting it?
He was always an intense guy. He's coaching down here, by the way.
Is he now? Okay. Man.
Yeah, he's coaching down here. I don't know what high school, but he is coaching down here.
I don't think the word chill would ever apply to that.
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly.
Listen, we had one sit down session after our exchange in San Diego where I think I was just as usual, I'm the face of the media. So everybody's anger and ferociousness comes my direction. But we had one sit down with Jason Jenkins after our incident in San Diego. Great city, by the way. And the whole time we're like, I'm not backing down. He's not backing down, but he's got this crazy eye. It's just like, it's like, it's looking at me. It's going crazy. And I'm like, man, I don't know if this guy is all the way there. And in fairness to him, I don't think any football player is all the way there. There's a level of craziness that you have to play that game, especially at certain positions, and linebacker happens to be one of them.
Yeah. No, without question. I did want to address one point you made about the inside linebacker core as it is now, and that relates to David Long Jr., who you kind of
poo-pooed.
Okay, that I was going to take a little bit of a shot at. Of all the plays that were noticeable from that position in the preseason, certainly
he made them.
Yeah, he made them. I remember him twice, I believe, shooting through a hole at the line of scrimmage and the running back in the backfield. And then in practice, we saw that he made a lot of plays that were flashy like that, or thumping the running back at the line of scrimmage and all that. I'm intrigued by what we're going to see from him. And again, with those two, I think it's a solid starting tandem. I don't know that either is going to the Pro Bowl, but it's a solid starting tandem. I think Duke Riley's a good veteran backup to have there. And then if Andrew Van Ginkel's your fourth, I think that's pretty solid. And I'm with you. I think Channing Tindall is going to spend a whole lot of time on special teams again in 2023. barring a surprise, I would say right now, anything you get from him on defense this year would be an unexpected bonus.
The icing on the cake. Yeah. He is athletic. Hopefully he can make a impact on special teams and be in position to come in and play if something happens to Jerome. He's Jerome's backup. He's Jerome's replacement probably next year, if you're comfortable with that.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, and then I think where Vic Fangio is really addressing the consistency issues regarding David Long, and you didn't get to see this in the Houston during practices, but those tight ends were eating, and David is the tight end cover guy.
Supposedly, yeah.
And so, we haven't had a good sample size of tight ends. One, you're not watching them go against tight ends in practice, and two, the Dolphins didn't play. When Atlanta played, their tight end Kyle Pitts didn't really practice. He was out there in window dressing, but he didn't really practice. So I think where Vic Fangio is kind of addressing the consistency issues are, okay, coverage of running backs and coverage of tight ends. This is just a guess, but we'll see. We'll see who David Long is, and what he brings to the table.
And just as a point of clarification, the reason I did not see David Long against the Texans is Omar and I both were there. Omar was focusing on the Dolphin defense during the joint practices. I was focusing on the Dolphin offense against the Houston defense. One other key point I want to make about the linebackers, and we mentioned Bradley Chubb among the group, is he's here from the start now. Dolphins got him in November last year at the trade deadline, and it wasn't the guy who played the last 7 or 8 games for the Dolphins last year wasn't the guy they traded for. He had some minor injuries he dealt with. He had like the change of team and scheme in the middle of the season. And he wound up making the Pro Bowl. Don't know exactly how, but he wound up making the Pro Bowl anyway. But he was not the impact player for whom the Dolphins gave up a first.
Yeah, he basically said he didn't know how to even get to his home from the facility on a daily basis. And I can understand that. I mean, he didn't know the people's names inside the building, who was coaching them. So the
point I was going to make with him though is there is reason to be very optimistic that he's going to be an impact player, the kind of guy that the Dolphins went out and got, being here from the start and not dealing with minor injuries that he had last year. And that could make a big difference for this defense.
Yes. What I mentioned this in a previous week's podcast, the week before they played the Jaguars in the exhibition season. He was a top 5 performer for all of training camp. There was nothing wrong with anything that he did. However, I would say I would put Kendall Lamb in that top 5 performer for all the training camp as well, because Kendall Lamb really up.
You caught me making a face until
yes, I'm getting there. Until that week of the Jacksonville game, it was like Bradley Chubb flipped the switch, just started destroying Kendall Lamb all day long and all week long. And I was like, what the hell happened here? And so, there are certain veterans who pace themselves. And as Bradley said, he was working on things. He was working on things that were not his strength and forte. And then all of a sudden he was just like, okay, I'm going to start doing the things that matter and count in the games. And he was just ripping and going and turning and bending and pressuring the quarterback. So I'm like, if that's the player that we can expect, oh, he's good. Now, could that have been Kendall Lamb just having a bad week or battling an issue? I keep meaning to go up to him in the locker room and being like, yo, bro, I put my name on you. Like, what happened here? Hopefully,
get your crap together already.
Yeah, man, my name's on you. Next, you're going to be the new Legadou Nene on me.
You're still wearing that one, huh?
Oh, Dolphin fans cannot let that go from 2012. I said Legadou Nene was going to be good. Oh my God. Yeah, he was good with David Garrard. Mm-hmm. Then when Ryan Tannehill got in, he had no chemistry with Ryan Tannehill. And just What am I? Was I lying? Wasn't he good in training camp?
I don't know if he was as good as you were making him out to be, but okay.
Okay, maybe it was me. I'll take ownership for it. I
Yeah,
take full responsibility for my Legadunane. You guys can hold it against me for the rest of my life. It's already been
it
over a
happened.
decade, and he still gets brought up at least once a week.
Yeah, if you think every scout around the NFL nails every player that they put their name on, you're crazy. So it happens. By the way, quick fun fact. I don't know if you know about this. My Twitter avatar, or X, what you want to call it, is me interviewing David Garrard, screenshotted from the television when the Dolphins were on Hard Knocks.
Yes, I was a segment in that Hard Knocks episode basically asking Joe Philbin, why does your team suck?
And I'm sure that's how you phrased it too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I didn't. It wasn't intentional. Did not I was just doing my job. Wasn't trying to make Hard Knocks. But yeah, it was. It was basically the gist of the question was, yeah, why does your team suck? And they did ultimately suck.
I think we kept track actually, and I wound up second in terms of reporter appearances during the series. I think there was one who had way more. It may have been Ben Volen who was with the Palm Beach Post at the time, who had like by far. I mean, it was like you couldn't go 5 minutes without seeing Ben's face on. Anyway, we digress, and we digress badly here. Shall we move on to the secondary?
So yes, we shall. This one's a hard one for me, but from this standpoint, do you want to group them in at cornerback and then do safety, or do you just want to put them all together?
I kind of like separating them as long as and I don't think they have any players where there's not a clear distinction as to where they're going to play. And by the way, I think we both agreed that linebacker is an upgrade over last year. Defensive line minor downgrade because you lose the experience of John Jenkins.
Yeah, but you know what? Melvin Ingram, one, I think it's a push between Alain Roberts and David Long. I will say this, David Long is supposed to be better from a coverage standpoint. I understand that. I get that. But put some respect on Alain Roberts'
career. I agree. And he had a very good year last year.
Like Dolphin fan, he didn't have a very good year last year. He had a very good year 3 straight years. Coming back from the ACL 10 months. Like let's and I don't even have a good relationship with Alain Roberts. Alain Roberts probably hates me, but
you're probably not the only one. Alain Roberts, a guy who also I don't think necessarily was a huge fan of the media.
He was we got into an issue because I said he was Brian Flores' lieutenant and basically the lynchman, the guy that he got mad because I called him a snitch. That's
I wonder why that would upset anybody.
Yeah, that one crossed the line for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me keep going. There were things that were getting back to Brian Flores in the locker room. People always wondered why they were getting back to Brian Flores in the locker room. Anyway, let's go to the line. Let's go to the cornerbacks.
Okay.
Xavier is Xavier. A healthy Xavier is a great Xavier. Last year, he was not healthy. There's a reason why Xavier has more interceptions in his career since joining the league in 2016 than anybody else in the league. And that includes Jalen Ramsey, who he's got, I believe, 9 more interceptions than.
Can I answer the question?
Go ahead.
Because he has maybe the best ball skills of any quarterback in the NFL. Oh, thank you.
People don't put the respect on his name that they should, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I get it. Sometimes he's out there playing with 2 bad balls. And it is what it is. That's what it was.
Keep it PG here.
Yeah, and
had groin issues.
Yeah, growing. Both of them. So it's funny that they call that a growing. Anyway, that I will keep it PG. Now, the Cater should be better in the second year. Xavier healthy. Cater should be better in the second year. Things have slowed down for him. And then you get to the third cornerback spot, which I could argue to you was an upgrade over last year, because last year let's see what they finished the playoffs with. Justin Bethel, Keon Crossan, Noah Igbenogany. Right now, I would say that it's clearly an upgrade over that unit, just because Eli Apple has been a 7-year starter in the league. Mm-hmm. And then you got Cam Smith, a young, promising player with upside. And Noah, you swapped him out for, I forget what the guy's name is.
Kelvin
Joseph. And then Perry Nickerson, who you were the one that pointed out to me. He played very well in his stints with the team. And I went back and looked at it, and I watched him a little bit against the Jaguars. And I was like, oh, okay. He can help you as a nickel. I'm not really worried about the back end of this depth chart, because once you get Nick Needham in there, you should be good. A healthy Nick Needham. And I'm thinking that's more mid-season than after the first month of the year.
No, that's fair. And then Nick Needham was on the opening day roster last year. And if you note it, and agree, to me right now it's an upgrade. And notice we haven't even mentioned Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Who when he returns, if I'm assuming he'll return, like in November, December. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's a stacked cornerback room. I'm sorry.
If he's at 100% healthy, or even
if it's an 80% Jalen Ramsey, you have an 80% Jalen Ramsey with Cater in the slot.
X won't be 100% by then. No disrespect.
You can't. But the problem is we can't play that game.
And you're going to lose a cornerback. You are. I have never covered.
I understand that, but the point I'm trying to make is that they have a ton of depth at cornerback, and they've had some injuries right now, because you're dealing with Needham, you're dealing with Ramsey, Cam Smith had the shoulder issue and he's back. I think their depth at cornerback, and they're better than they were at this time last year, even with Ramsey starting this season on IR.
What makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and this is something that I'll leave here on this podcast, is I believe Kader Kohou is battling an injury, and I don't know how serious it is. We'll find out pretty much on Wednesday when the injury report comes out. It's been something that he's been nursing. Hopefully this 2 weeks gives him time to heal up and get better, because the Dolphins have been aggressive in terms of shopping for nickel help. Kelvin Joseph is here. I think at some point you're going to have to start to consider, playing or game planning Perry Nickerson. I think he's definitely going to be active for week 1, just because he knows the defense. But that's an area that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, just from the standpoint of right now, at this moment, there's some injuries, too many injuries, and there's some depth concerns. And then we get to the safety spot where there's a
hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Except I am going to point out that Kader Kohou played against Jacksonville in the preseason finale. And I'd like to think that if we was nursing anything of significance, there's no way in hell the Dolphins would have put him out there.
They limited him in practice the week before. I mean, that week.
Understood. But again,
we shall see when that injury report comes out.
I said what I said.
We shall see when that injury report comes out.
Yes, we shall.
Dolphins said they were looking. Didn't Chris Greer say he was looking for a nickel?
I don't recall those specific words, but obviously the fact that they traded for Kelvin Joseph.
Yes, and Kelvin Joseph, who worked in the nickel for all of one training camp. So yes, let's get to the safety spot, because we've got limited time here. By
the way, I'm sorry for somebody who commented. No, the name of the podcast is going to be we're about to run out of time. No, go ahead.
I liked Elijah Campbell in that safety group. If it were me, he would have been my starter for the Chargers game. He's not healthy right now. He didn't go on IR, and I've seen him walking in the locker room, no brace, no knee things. However, the knee injury that he suffered was pretty significant. Now, the question is, will he be healthy enough to contribute in the first month of the season? Obviously, the Dolphins said yes, but I'm not sure he'll be healthy enough to contribute in the season opening game. Now, you are the one that accurately pointed out Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. I wish they were in San Diego.
Could be in San Diego, yes.
Los Angeles Chargers. They are a spread it out, wide open, 3 receiver set. And that means that I think it's going to be Verone McKinley who's going to begin the season as a starter. And I think you're going to watch Deshaun Elliott play kind of a star role, which is Eric Rowe's old role, pseudo linebacker, closer to the box, maybe cover tight end. You got to worry about deep center field. And to me, that's Verone McKinley right now, while Brandon Jones is still rehabbing. And I'm not even sure Brandon Jones is that player, but we shall see. I don't know. We shall see. The Brandon Jones issue is coverage has never been his strong suit. Fair. And I don't want Dolphin fans to ever sit there and think that, oh, this guy is going to be my deep center. Because understand, when you've got Javon Holland, who should be better in his third season and really in a contract year. This is a contract year for Javon Holland, because I doubt he's playing one snap for the Dolphins without a new contract next year, unless
if he balls out.
If he balls out, correct. Yeah. Javon Holland sits at the priority of number one of guys that you need to re-sign next offseason.
Ahead of Waddle, ahead of Phillips.
Oh, no, Waddle. See, yes, ahead of Waddle and Phillips, because you have a fifth-year option for both, whereas you do not have a fifth-year option for Javon Holland.
Fair.
See, gotcha.
Yes, fair.
So,
fair point. But we need to establish that we're doing the roster comparison. So the guys who were on the opening day roster last year at safety were Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, Elijah Campbell, who was more last year at this time a cross between cornerback and safety, and Eric Rowe. This year it's Brandon Jones.
Don't disrespect Clayton Fedulum.
Oh, no, he wasn't on the opening day roster. He was on IR. If you remember, he made the 53, went on IR. And then this year, you still have Brandon Jones, still have Javon Holland, still have Elijah Campbell. And then you had Verone McKinley, the third, who last year began the season on the practice squad, was elevated for week 1, and then Deshaun Elliott. So I think, obviously, because of numbers, and you got the addition of Deshaun Elliott and Verone McKinley from the start, I think you have to call it an upgrade, because the one player who's not here is Eric Rowe, who
got cut and is not any good anymore, I've heard. So he's not.
I was about to say very politely, because Eric Rowe was about one of the nicest guys who's walked across that locker room in years. He's on, let's say he's on the back 9 of his NFL career.
Not very good anymore. Oh. All right.
See, well, I try to be polite, and you just dump it.
I'm straight shooter. You are too. Thank you for watching the All Dolphins podcast. This has been our defensive breakdown. If you want to see the offensive breakdown, you got to go to episode 62. We encourage you to check it out. You can find us here on All Dolphins, and you can find our work on alldolphins.com. Always a pleasure, Poupart.
Right back at you, boss. Let's do it again tomorrow.